I've been blessed with this Title 38 recently. Absolutely beautiful bow. And I'm going to be setting it up for a upcoming 3D tournament. And I thought this would be a great opportunity for me to show how to set up a new bow from start to finish. I know when I first started tinkering on my own bows, there was a plethora of information on YouTube, but they're all scattered. So it was hard for me to follow along. I didn't know which to do first and which to do second. So hope this will be my service back to the archery community by giving a series of videos that any beginner can follow. So come along and we'll set this up from this date till it's ready to shoot. Now when you receive your new bow, before you do anything to it, the first thing you gotta check is your limb bolts are even. And the best way to ensure they're even is to just crank them all the way in. When I first received this, the top limb bolt was about 1/8 of a turn too loose compared to the bottom one. So if I were to set it up as is, I would have gotten vertical knock treble issues and then I have to restart. So that's the first thing you gotta check for. The second thing, this is extremely rare, but it happens. Make sure you have the same mods in the top and bottom cam. It takes 2 seconds to check. If you're a 1 out of 1,000 and they set it up wrong from the factory, you'll be very glad you caught it now instead of later. So before we start setting up our nocking point and tying our D-loop, stick in any peep sight in the string. And the reason you want to do that is when you stick your peep in, it expands the string and it effectively makes your top half of your string shorter. So if you were to take your nocking point and set it and then stick a peep in, that would effectively move it up. So you want to stick any peep, just get the string open first before you set up the nocking point. So the easiest way to do this is just to take a T-square, clip it on your string, and make sure that T-square covers 3/4 of the burger hole. Now why do we want to cover 3/4 of the burger hole and not half of it? After all, the center of the bow goes through the midpoint of the burger hole. We do it because we're going to tie our bottom nock, and the center of the arrow is actually above that because your nocks have thicknesses. Cover up 3/4 of your burger hole, and the 0 mark on this T-square will be where you tie your bottom nock set. Really awkward to do this with a camera, but we'll try. We're gonna take some BCY 3D material. This thing has a really good thickness for nock sets. And we're going to do a constrictor knot. Lay your tail to the right and then start coiling this over that tail end. Actually, I'm gonna leave a little longer tail so it's easier to pull on this with a plier later. Alright, so we're gonna go 1 loop. We'll see how this shows up on camera later. 2 loop. 3 and 4. Now you see how that tail is tucked under all of these loops, okay? I'm going to take the end of the loop and pass under this coil we created. Keep the loops neatly stacked as you pull this in. Now you see how these 4 coils are cinching over the start and end of this knot. This is called a constrictor knot. It is one of the most difficult knots to loosen in archery. And I really love this for nock sets because the other way you tie it, which is just stacking knots top and bottom, that thing will loosen sooner or later. The constrictor knot, on the other hand, absolutely will not move after you cinch this down. Alright, so adjust it, get it over that 0 mark on the T-square, and we're just going to do a preliminary pull here. And then the T-square can come off. That's our bottom nock. And we're just going to take something that you can wrap the tail of these loops through, and we're going to cinch the hell out of this so it can't go anywhere. I'm going to cut off the end, leave a little bit of a tail so we can burn it in. When you burn it, Turn it sideways so when the flame travels up, it cannot possibly hit your string. Smush it towards the knot. Same thing on this end. Burn it. Smush it towards the knot. That's our bottom knock set. Okay, so let's do the same thing for a top knock. Now without the T-square in the way, this gets a lot easier. So we had 4 stacks for the bottom knock. We're gonna do 3 for the top one. You want more coils on the bottom than the ones on top. So we're gonna do 3 coils on top. 1, 2, 3. And pass this tail through. Under all these knots. Alright, before we cinch this tight, very important, you want to grab the actual knock you'll be shooting and set your knock point spacing based off this knock. Okay, so I like to leave 1 serving diameter, serving referring to this 3D material, between the knock throat and my top knock. So I'm just eyeballing it here. Make sure I leave a little bit of a wiggle room, right? You want this to be able to wiggle up and down just slightly. Otherwise, when that string goes to full draw, it is going to shorten the distance between these knock sets and pinch on your knock. That will ruin your accuracy. Okay, so leave enough space. Give it a preliminary cinch, wiggle it to set that spacing. And we're gonna yank on this. Right there, I like that. Again, we're gonna cinch it down by pulling with the tool.